When the Zorlacks moved in next door, I knew my quiet life was over. They were the first alien family to settle in our small Earth town, and they made sure everyone knew they were superior. Tall, sleek, and shimmering with iridescent scales, they looked like they'd stepped out of a sci-fi movie. Their technology was light years ahead of ours, and they never missed an opportunity to remind us of it. "Your primitive automobiles are so quaint," Zorlack Prime, the patriarch, would say with a condescending smirk. "On our planet, we've had anti-gravity vehicles for centuries." His wife, Zorlack Secondus, would chime in. "And your food? So bland. Our nutrient synthesizers can create flavors your taste buds couldn't even comprehend." Even their kids, Zorlack Tertius and Zorlack Quartus, would mock our Earth games. "You actually run after a ball. How exhausting. We just use neural interfaces to control drones." First, I tried to be polite. After all, they were new to Earth, and I wanted to be a good neighbor. But their constant jabs at humanity's inferiority started to wear on me. One day, after Zorlack Prime made a snide comment about our archaic communication methods, I snapped. "You know what?" I said, crossing my arms. "For all your advanced tech, you're not so perfect yourselves. I've noticed you've been struggling to adapt to Earth's environment. Maybe you're not as superior as you think." The Zorlacks froze. Their shimmering scales dulled slightly, a sign I'd come to recognize as embarrassment. Zorlack Prime stammered. "We're merely adjusting. It's a minor inconvenience." "Sure," I said, smirking. "Keep telling yourself that." From that day on, I made it my mission to prove that Earth and humans had something to offer. I started inviting the Zorlacks over for dinner, introducing them to Earth's diverse cuisines. At first, they turned up their noses, but eventually, they couldn't resist the aroma of freshly baked bread or the tangy zest of a perfectly spiced curry. "This is acceptable," Zorlack Secondus admitted one evening, savoring a bite of lasagna. "Perhaps your species has some redeeming qualities." I grinned. "Glad you think so." But the real turning point came when I introduced them to Earth's music. I played everything from classical symphonies to rock anthems, and to my surprise, they were captivated. Zorlack Tertius and Quartus even started dancing, their sleek forms moving in ways that were both alien and oddly graceful. "Your music is emotional," Zorlack Prime said, his voice softer than usual. "It stirs something within us." "That's the power of art," I replied. "It connects us no matter how different we are." Over time, the Zorlacks' attitude began to change. They still boasted about their technology, but they also started asking questions about Earth's culture, history, and traditions. It was a small victory, but it felt good to see them opening up. Then, one fateful evening, everything changed. I was hosting a barbecue in my backyard, and the Zorlacks had reluctantly agreed to attend. As the sun set and the stars came out, we sat around the fire, sharing stories and laughter. Zorlack Prime, emboldened by a few sips of Earth wine, leaned over to me. "You know," he said, his voice low, "despite our differences, I must admit, you humans are fascinating. Your resilience, your creativity. It's admirable." I raised an eyebrow. "Coming from you, that's high praise." He chuckled, a sound that was still strange to my ears. "Perhaps we've been too harsh. Earth has its charms." I smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. But then Zorlack Secondus spoke up, her tone teasing. "Though there is one area where we are undoubtedly superior." "Oh," I asked, curious. "And what's that?" He smirked. "Our reproductive abilities. Our species can conceive offspring in ways your primitive biology could never comprehend." I blinked, caught off guard. Okay. That's Interesting. Zorlack Prime nodded. Indeed. Our methods are highly advanced, requiring no physical contact. We simply exchange genetic material through a process of... Okay, I interrupted, holding up a hand. I get it. You're super advanced. No need to go into details. The Zorlacks laughed, their shimmering scales glowing with amusement. But as the night wore on, their teasing grew more pointed. They started making jokes about human reproduction, calling it inefficient and messy. At first I laughed along, but eventually, their comments started to get under my skin. You know, I said, finally fed up, for all your advanced methods, maybe there's something to be said for the human way. It's intimate, personal, something you clearly don't understand. The Zorlacks fell silent, their scales flickering with surprise. Then Zorlack Secundus leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. Perhaps you're right. Maybe we've been too quick to dismiss your ways. Shrug. Just saying. The conversation moved on, but I could tell the Zorlacks were intrigued. Over the next few weeks, they started asking more questions about human relationships, love, and yes, even reproduction. I answered as best I could, trying to explain the emotional aspects that went beyond mere biology. Then, one evening, Zorlack Prime approached me with a serious expression. We've been discussing your words, he said. And we've come to a decision. Oh, I asked, curious. He nodded. We wish to experience human reproduction for ourselves. I nearly choked on my drink. Wait, what? Not in the literal sense, he clarified quickly. But we would like to observe, learn, perhaps even participate in a more hands-on manner. I stared at him, unsure if I was hearing correctly. You want to participate? He hesitated, then nodded. Yes, we believe it would be a valuable cultural exchange. I didn't know what to say. On one hand, the idea was absurd. On the other, it was kind of flattering. After a moment, I sighed. All right, but let's take it slow, okay? The Zorlacks agreed, and over the next few months, we embarked on what can only be described as the strangest cultural exchange in history. They taught me about their advanced technology, and I taught them about human emotions, relationships, and yes, even the basics of reproduction. It was awkward at first, but over time we grew closer. The Zorlacks started to see humans in a new light, and I gained a deeper appreciation for their culture. We became friends, and eventually something more. Then one day, Zorlack Secundus approached me with a look of awe on her face. It worked, she said, her voice trembling with excitement. What worked? I asked, confused. She placed a hand on her abdomen, her scales glowing with a soft, golden light. We're pregnant. Thanks to you. I stared at her, my mind racing. Wait, you're saying? She nodded. Your methods, they worked. We've conceived a child. A hybrid. I was speechless. The Zorlacks had always mocked Earth, but now they were carrying a piece of it within them. It was a strange, surreal moment, but also incredibly profound. As the months passed, the Zorlacks' attitude changed completely. They no longer boasted about their superiority. Instead, they spoke of the beauty of combining two cultures, two species, into something new and unique. When the baby was born, it was a moment of pure joy. The child had the shimmering scales of the Zorlacks, but also the warmth and humanity of Earth. It was a symbol of unity, of understanding, and of the power of connection.